Hey everybody, thank you guys for joining this webinar. I really genuinely am pretty excited to talk to you guys about the Slim and Sassy products just because I feel like there's some pretty high quality things that can make a big difference in our lives and have some fun stories about that. I hope you guys will tune in fully, and I'll go ahead and introduce myself. Actually, I should go ahead and do my screen share and stuff like this. Let's see if I can get worked out enough to, oh, is that it? There we go. Now I gotta do this one. Okay, here we go. All right, now I think I got it straight. So I am Amanda Dumas, and I'm mother of 5, aspiring silver leader with doTERRA, and I have a couple Facebook groups that I moderate and some nonprofit that I am involved with that I founded. You guys should look up Stop and Rest movement. That one's a really awesome one too. But what I really want to focus on right today is the Slim and Sassy and what it can do for you, especially here at the beginning of the year when people are looking at changing some bad habits possibly. I'm a big fan of the whole idea of making things a lifestyle change as opposed to, I don't really love using the phrase of like resolution, like New Year's resolutions. Setting intentions is okay, but I actually prefer the term commitment. I'll talk more about that in just a minute, actually. But I put on this picture here. This normally I would add something that shows you my fam as well, but this is just my husband and I. And part of the reason I put this here is because this was the selfie we took when we got back. And I recognized, being that it was so close to the end of the year, the December 27th, I recognized that my husband and I had actually dated each other 52 times. That means we actually went like once a week for the entire year. And I just remember so clearly the previous year, we had squeaked by on like 6 dates. And our marriage consequently was not really super strong, not very intimate, not very, it felt like a lot of friction. And I know for many of us who have small children, my youngest is 3 now, and my oldest is actually in his 20s. But and I have quite the spectrum in between. I really, I feel like you have to make a commitment if you're going to go for something like that. And so I'm not sure what all you have committed to this year, but I can just tell you this picture was like the culmination of so many things, because, each and every week to chug through following that commitment. And making those sacrifices where you kind of really wanted to do something else, but you already said you're going to do this, and if you don't do it now, you won't be able to do the other because you have all these other things. Sometimes it actually had to be divinely orchestrated, because babysitters, when you're managing with kids as young as we have and whatnot, it can really be a stressor. And it was such a fantastic moment. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I see things a different way, and that's what I want for you all today too. And that's why I chose this picture, because this was the culmination, just like my proud moment, my shining moment to say, I managed to achieve 52 dates with my husband, a date a week, and my marriage consequently is much, much stronger. We're in such a much better place because of that. Of course, there's other personal work that's happened as well, in our hearts as well. But anyway, but welcome to my class. I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of overview of my heart, where I'm coming from. This whole idea about commit and go is a big one for me. I am not into diets, and I think I already mentioned to you that I prefer the word commitment over resolution or intention and things like that, because I really feel like when you are when you've fallen short before, or when you kind of have the baggage about being able to lose that, and for you, it may be different. I actually personally, when I started using doTERRA products, I was hovering somewhere around the 200 range. And part of that was because I was pregnant at the time. So I was allowed to have a little extra weight. I'll go ahead and toss this out here. This past weekend, I actually ran my very first 5K that I ever ran since I was about 10 years old when I ran with my dad. And so I actually ran with my dad again with two of my kids and myself, and I didn't have to even run the entire way. I did some walking, and that was totally fine. But even to have accomplished that was a big deal for me. And sort of my my mantra over the past few years has been, I'm feeling great at 148. And I'm not saying that Slim and Sassy is the only thing that has helped me get to having over that time span of a couple years here have lost 52 pounds. But I am saying that that a lifestyle change, certainly one that is very broad and including things about hydration. Well, I'll get to some of the other stuff later, but anyway, yes, definitely want to look at the whole lifestyle kind of thing. Let me also let me go ahead and before we move on, I want to tell you too, part of my motivation for overall wellness. I'm going to try to make this as brief as possible, but when I was about 11, I had an experience with my mom, who is a midwife. She and my dad divorced, and we went to go live in Colorado. And at the time, I think just whatever emotional things were going on with her, she wasn't really in a place. When I came down with a respiratory infection, she wasn't really in a place to help me through it that particular year. And she also has a little bit of distrust for hospitals, as do many midwives, just because sometimes we see the interventions that aren't really necessary that would have gone so much better if we just kind of let nature take its course, kind of a thing. So anyway, so she had this idea like, well, I can't take my daughter to the hospital because they're going to like pump her full of all this junk, and then she'll have all these, and the insurance and blah, 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 it was just a lot for her mind at that moment, I'm assuming. And so she didn't take me. So about 4 months later, when I went to go visit my dad, I remember going into the flight doc. He worked at the Pentagon. The flight doc said, "You've had walking pneumonia for 4 months." And so, of course, I got on the antibiotics, that whole pink goop, and I had these, breathing treatments and stuff like that, and I needed them. I verifiably thank you, Jesus, that we have such well-staffed hospitals, that we have, the medications when your body is not strong enough to fight. Thank you that this kind of medical intervention is available to me, and delighted about that. But when I look back on the experience, it was a huge, huge deal for my mom that she had gone through that full 4 months, and she wanted so bad for me to be healed. But she knew what she didn't want. She didn't know how to get what she did want. She was not empowered with essential oils. She was not empowered with herbs. She was not empowered with other natural things. We did do some, resting, hydration, things like that. But she didn't really have anything to give me. She didn't have the tools in her toolbox that would enable her to heal me, which was her desire. And so when I think back on that experience, and it was like, I can remember so many things about it very clearly. I really saw my mom as basically as the victim. Like, yes, my lungs lasted into college years, having bronchitis and other chronic issues like that. So yeah, terrible stuff, but it was my mom that I really saw, I felt her hurting from it. And so I decided, even through, teen and college years, I was going to be a little different. I was going to go ahead and make sure I got empowered, make sure I had the tools that I was going to need, so that if I became a mom someday, that I would not only know how to take care of myself, but also be able to take care of others, and even teach others how to take care of themselves. And that's my motivation right now. I really feel like there's no reason with as many resources as we have to be stuck, to be the victim, to be like playing in this disempowered world. The things that we have are so easy to get. These, you know, fantastic essential oils, which are super concentrated, very powerful versions of the natural herbal counterpart, and, you know, and certainly other, you know, lifestyle things that I think are very important as well. So, okay, so that's my motivation. Let me go ahead and click forward and let you guys ask the question. You're probably looking at this being like, what are those adorable chubby thighs doing there? Because I just want to gobble them up. I know, me too, right? So this one, I think I had to choose this picture. It's great just to say, hey, is there anything good or awesome about fat? And there is. So we call it adipose tissue, and when it misbehaves, and that's when we are accumulating too much of it on our bodies. But there are a couple reasons. Does anyone here know why we have adipose tissue? I know you're all thinking like, just it's a whole new word to me. Why would I even know that? So yeah, why is fat there? It really does create a padding on our organs. So like falls and jostles and even running, just like in my 5K, all those things are bouncing around. The fat really does enable things to kind of just glide a little smoother and not get damaged when we're bumped and prodded and stuff. We also, you know, especially people who live in colder climates, I'm in Orlando, so it doesn't really matter so much to me, but it does slow heat loss if you're talking about being able to keep a certain temperature. So, and then of course, it actually is a really good place to store energy. And whether you're from the frame of reference that we need carbs for fuel or fat for fuel, either way, you're going to you know, just have to accept the fact that we do store energy in our fat cells, in our adipose tissue. So, a couple of alarming statistics. Boop, boop, boop. All right, so did you have any idea, I guess, if you guys could answer, what percentage of Americans are considered overweight right now in America? It's 65%. Can you believe that? 65%. And I have to tell you that when you take a look at how it is in other countries, especially other developed countries right now, it's not much better. Anyone want to take a crack at what percentage it is for other places? It's a measly 15% lower, right about half, like 50-50 are considered overweight in other countries too. That's talking about adults. And what do you think it is for kids? It's 15%. Still way, way too much when you're looking at it for kids. And that's, you know, that's when we get to even the overweight section. Does that mean that if people who are underweight or who are at their, you know, ideal weight, does that mean they're healthy? No, there's so much more work that we need to be doing in this section, people. So I hope you guys will take a good, solid listen to this webinar because of that. What I have here is what I call the wellness lifestyle. I usually use the word triangle just because, y'all know, pyramid, it gets a bad rap, poor thing. Especially if you're talking about some sort of drug selling company like doTERRA, it gets a bad rap. It's awful. So what I want you guys to focus on here, looking at this triangle, is that it really is kind of more important that we keep the lifestyle. You see the 4 bottom rungs here? The lifestyle things, eating right, exercising, resting, managing stress, and reducing toxic load. Those are the ones that we can very easily control and that we should be paying a lot of attention to. It has to be lifestyle that we're focusing on, not just some sort of resolution for one of these things. I'm going to go to the gym every day and exercise. I'm going to, you know, like you've got, you know, I'm going to stop drinking Diet Coke. Here's another little benefit. I'm going to throw in kind of as a little extra thing. Try putting your commitments in the positive voice, right? Instead of being like, I'm going to stop yelling at my husband all the time. Like, let's make it positive. Like, I am committed to dating my husband once a week. Put it in a positive, or instead of like, Like I say, I eat greens every day. So instead of being like, I'm not going to eat no more refined sugar, you know that's going to be finished in like a week and a half, right? Like you know, just like 2 weeks down the road, you'll have forgotten, and you won't even feel guilty about it by that point, you know? So, but when you can make a commitment and actually commit really to doing one of those positive activities on a daily basis, say, for example, eating greens every day, whether you do it in a smoothie or a salad or something with dinner or whatever, when you make a commitment like that, that's in a positive voice. Sometimes it's actually easy for us because it adds a real, yeah, just positive vibe, like something that you want to do instead of the negative stuff, like, I ain't gonna do no more Diet Coke, you know, or whatever. If we're talking about reducing toxic load. Okay, so that's it. And like, I'm gonna stop going to bed at 10 o'clock or at 12 o'clock, you know, kind of thing. If we can take a look at how to manage these lifestyle changes on a positive side. Then the healthcare issues, you guys see the little dotted line, and above that dotted line is all the things that we appreciate about healthcare. The informed self-care, that one is what I consider things like, what are you going to do when a headache does pop up, or what are you going to do when you're having such a really bad digestive upset, or what are you going to do when, like, you know, the numbers on your blood screen are looking a little funky, you know, the proactive medical care. Let's keep up with those doctor's appointments. Let's, you know, do things that we need to with our doctors. We're not saying that just because we're using something natural that we don't need to pay attention to a standard practice there. All right, so if we are looking at true ideal wellness, we've got to kind of grade ourselves on how we're doing on these basic lifestyle things, you know, like scale of 1 to 10. You don't have to share with me right now, but in your mind, go ahead and say, how am I on eating right? Meaning like 10, I wrote a book about it because I'm that good. 1, I'm pretty much 3 meals a day through the drive-through. Or, you know, like, so, and then for exercise, 1 to 10, 10 being high, 1 being low. How are you doing? Rest and managing stress. How are you doing with that? Do you really have a handle on it? Give yourself a 10. If you super struggle with it, go ahead and give yourself a 1 or someplace in between. Reducing toxic load, that's kind of a big deal because some of it deals with things that we put in our body, and some of it deals with the environment and things that are around us, that we're cleaning with, that we're breathing in, a lot of it that we don't even have a choice about in some cases. So, okay, so just kind of getting a gauge for yourself, how you measure on this kind of scale. I'm going to go through a couple ideas. Now, this whole idea of eating right, you can choose, you know, to be vegan or paleo or keto or, you know, any of those things, but definitely the jury agrees. In general, we could still all agree that we're going to need to be eating organic if possible, right? That's part of the reducing chemicals, right? If you're having a salad for whatever program you follow, let's make it something that doesn't have a lot of spray and things like that in it. Let's go ahead and be conscientious. If you're going to go make the attempt to eat greens every day or things like that, consider stepping it up. I also feel like good fats is another one that everybody can agree on. And, you know, the question of, you know, things that are super processed, like the canola oils and the, you know, vegetable oils that have, you know, are 18 to 19 steps removed from their original source versus, say, for example, coconut oil or olive oil, which are like, you know, 2 steps removed from where we find it, you know, on the tree, so to speak. So organic things, good fats, hydration is a huge deal. I'm a big believer in that. I also feel like paying attention to your own body signals, minding your signals is a big deal. Are you eating because of habit and because it's time to eat, or are you eating because you actually are having some hunger signals? And then are you stopping when you're full? And then, of course, the idea of focusing on fresh. That even people who are doing a lot of, like keto, and people think of it always being like heavy foods or whatever. Focusing on fresh is always going to help our systems work clearly. So those are a couple of my little things. And I'm in some ways kind of curious of the people watching the webinar, what is it that you're doing and what's working for you. But any way you cut it, like we could just follow those kinds of recommendations about eating right. You're going to be better off. So why doTERRA? Part of the big deal about doTERRA for me, I do feel like they are just so far ahead of the bunch. Like, you guys probably have already, Googled doTERRA, and you probably already know that they're the most tested and the most trusted. You probably have already heard that they're being used in 48 hospitals around the nation, and that a lot of doctors are putting them into practice as a complementary care for people who are having problems but may not necessarily need to be on a medication specifically, or may be able to speed up some healing without the use of some stuff from pharmaceuticals. And so you guys have probably already know about doTERRA. It's kind of become a little bit more of a household term. But what is it that makes it special besides its purity and potency? Because, okay, so I'll have to tell you a little bit about the CPTG rating. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share for a second here. So this is the Slim and Sassy, and you'll notice here on the side, it talks about for internal use, dilute, there it goes, yeah, for internal use, dilute 1 drop in 4 fluid ounces of liquid. You don't get to see that on most bottles. Why not? I'm saying most bottles as in, if you go to Whole Foods or you order something off the internet and it's 100% pure, but you paid $4 for it, it's never going to have anything like this written on it. Why? Because the testing and research has not been done for that oil, and you should really avoid at all costs ingesting it. It's a big deal. So why can you do that for doTERRA stuff? Why is this, trying to get it to focus here. Come on, no. Oh, it doesn't seem to be doing. Okay, so the CPTG is what I'm trying to show you guys, certified pure therapeutic grade. What gives it that reading is because any company can have their products tested for that level of purity. Right now, doTERRA has set the standard, and other companies aren't jumping up to try to get that rating. So, but the APRC applied. You know what? I probably don't need to go into all this. This could be a whole different webinar. Let me not get sidetracked. All right. Okay. So CPTG. Know that means it's third-party tested. Yes, doTERRA has their laboratories and they're doing some really good research and development. But when we look at what gives it that standard that you can know makes it above all the other ones, it's this third-party thing. Zero fillers, synthetics, dyes, pesticides, with contaminants, and the thing that I love the most, go to the source2you.com website. Love this. I could, seriously talk about this for a while too. Okay, there's a code. Hey, look, it focused. Okay, so there's the code on the bottom of my bottle. Go into the Source2 website. They have a little section where you can type in the code, and it'll bring up the results for this particular bottle. Now, there are other companies who send their stuff to this third-party lab to have them tested, but they do once a year, or once, twice a year or something like that, every 6 months. With doTERRA, there isn't a single batch of oil that goes through that has not been tested. Every single, batch in general before it gets bottled gets tested 3 times. And so when you're looking at this kind of stuff, that's why it has such a high rating, and that's why it's more, most tested, most trusted compared to the other stuff. Okay, that was kind of long. Sorry for getting you on to that. Okay, then there's also co-impact sourcing. So CPTG, co-impact sourcing. Oh my goodness, I could get off on a whole tangent with this too. Deciding where to get their oils is a big, big deal with doTERRA, and they specifically are looking to help impoverished nations, not by like, you know, getting loosey-goosey with the testing, but by equipping small individual families, grouping them into some co-ops to give them the support they need, setting up long-term relationships with those people, giving them somewhere between 8 to 10 times the going rate for what they would be selling things to a perfumery for, and establishing, you know, like I said, like just long-term commitments. So, and then the Healing Hands Foundation that doTERRA, you know, it's like the charitable side of things, building schools, building public restrooms in those areas, digging wells, setting up safe houses for people who have been involved in the sex slave industry and who are coming out of that and need, you know, something with dignity to be able to do for income. Wonderful, wonderful things that the Healing Hand Foundation that doTERRA offers is going on. The co-impact sourcing works hand in hand with that, just for each individual farmer, and setting up, yeah, wonderful stuff. Love it. We could talk forever about that. All right. Let me tell you just one quick thing before I go into specifically about Slim and Sassy. It is important to me, this whole most tested, most trusted thing. When Marcus was 11 months old, he was able to do sign language. And he forgets it all now. Like all three of my littlest ones, we all did sign language with them, and they just got verbal and they're not using it anymore. But anyway, so I used to really struggle both with Arya and Marcus to get them to go to sleep at night. I felt like they were always waking up in the middle of the night. They were always kind of grumpy. They never seemed to take forever for them to actually go to sleep. And I was one of those moms who my heart is way too soft. I cannot do the whole crying them out thing. I'm just that kind of a softie. So I tried using lavender on their jammies and things like that, and I was actually pretty consistent about it too. So one day my dad comes to me and he's like, well, this lavender from, so-and-so from church, she says it's different than the other stuff that you've been using. Why don't you try putting it on the bottoms of the baby's feet? And I'm like, everybody knows you're not supposed to put it on the bottoms of baby's feet. Like, ew, that could really poison them. So I was not really interested in trying, but he was like, yeah, well, why don't you give it a try? So I did, and I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised. Marcus was sleeping faster, more solid through the night, and waking up chipper. And I was like, this is a cool thing. I really like this. I'm going to keep doing it. Well, one day, a couple, 2 weeks later, something like that, I had used the lavender in my kitchen because I had gotten a burn. Lavender is amazing for burns, by the way. So I had left it in the kitchen, and it was the middle of the night, and he had woke up crying, and so I was doing the whole rock bed, but I didn't want to go out into the kitchen, turn on the light, and try to find this little brown bottle. So I found what I used to use on his jammies, and I tried putting it on his feet. Terrible mistake. Can I just tell you guys, and here's another little tip. If you haven't ever tried this before, if you make the mistake of putting an essential oil on and it's either hot or it's, not really going well, don't wash it off with water. Turns out that actually the water drives it into the skin a little bit farther because oil and water don't mix. So you have to use an oil, say like coconut oil or whatever, to dilute it. That helps it not get flushed more into the system. So, but I didn't know that. And so I tried washing off his feet because he told me he had a hurt because he wasn't sleeping. And I'm like, what's the problem? And he told me he had a hurt. Where's your hurt? On the bottoms of his feet. So I washed the bottoms of his feet where I had put the lesser quality lavender, and was hoping and praying, and having him drink water and stuff like that. But he was still crying. I'm like, what's going on? Why are you still crying? Are you hurt? And he was saying, yes, hurt. And I asked him where his hurt was. And this time, instead of his feet, he pointed to his head. It was systemic. He was getting a headache because of all the whatever synthetic. I don't know what's in there, but whatever it is, when we woke up in the morning, which was at like 11 in the morning, because, you know, when you don't sleep all night, that's how your day goes and really messes up homeschooling, can tell you that much. Anyway, I decided I wasn't messing around anymore. I wasn't gonna, you know, pretend that they were equal. There was a verifiable difference, and I've just not gone back to using the other stuff anymore. And have never looked back, and have many examples of why I feel like doTERRA is that much better. So, okay, so that's the whole why doTERRA. Let me go ahead and share my screen one more time. I know I'm getting like kind of late on my stuff here. I need to help you guys in order to not make this go too long. Okay, so we're gonna watch a quick video about what the whole CPTG thing means. Make this bigger.
So when we talk about quality, it's not always about what testing you're doing. You have to look at the whole process and what that means collectively. And I believe that doTERRA does that better than anyone else.
doTERRA is the best company in the industry right now. I mean, they're the leaders. I mean, there's no one that's really coming close to doing what they're doing. I haven't seen anything like it in my 20 years of being in this industry, of a company going to the lengths that they go to secure the best oil in the world.
doTERRA's commitment to quality starts well before the plants are even distilled. Through our co-impact sourcing, the CPTG process starts then. And then it goes through a three-tiered testing process that starts with outside labs and finishes off inside the company here, and then continues on after the bottles are sold.
We do several layers of testing, including GCMS, optical rotation, specific gravity, refractive index, chiral testing, carbon-14, probably more extensive than just about any lab out there.
I've been doing research with essential oils for about 15 years now. So I work with a lot of oils and a lot of tests. And the one thing that I've noticed consistently is that unless you're starting with an oil that has a consistent quality, you're not going to get good results.
You know, a lot of our oils are used in aromatherapy or topical use. So we want to make sure that we do not only make a product that's effective, but it's also going to be safe. And that's why we do a thorough analysis to look at the composition to make sure that it is safe. But at the same time, we also go ahead and do skin irritation testing, which is also called as the RIP testing or repeat insult patch testing, to make sure that when you apply it on topically, it's not irritating to your skin.
To a wellness advocate, we always keep them in mind, and we talk about it in our training. And what matters is that the details matter. You know, quality is in the details, and so because we're so passionate and so detailed, we're sure not to miss those things that are going to make the difference between just an okay product and a great product.
We stand behind our quality processes because we have the most in-depth and knowledgeable staff. We have set the standard for what the quality process should be. The testing knowledge that is gained as well as passed on to each bottle is, you cannot measure.
One of the things that I've recognized about the quality of essential oils and the testing is that it's a dynamic environment. It's changing. And this is why it's so important that doTERRA leads the front, that doTERRA is developing and processing and coming up with new ways, new opportunities to prove out the quality of essential oils, and frankly, in a way that no other company is able to do. As we continue to grow, as we continue to expand throughout the world, I'm proud to say that doTERRA has made that commitment and will not waver or deviate from that.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, more of like what I said. Oops, wait a second.
So
I wasn't. Oh, apparently I've got to get the next thing here. Let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. All right, so onto specifically Slim and Sassy. What's this stuff all about, right? We got like y'all signed up to watch a webinar, not so much about all the other stuff that I'm telling you, but you all want to know about Slim and Sassy. So here it is. I just stop my share again. Okay, so I'm looking in the Modern Essentials book. This is the 10th edition. I have a fantastic time geeking out occasionally. I'm not nearly as much of a science geek as some other people I know, but I do love being able to kind of like just know that there is other, just, you know, the molecular, you know, structure and all sorts of info. It's there when you're looking at a verifiable scientific reason and how exactly these things are working for each particular adipose cell and that kind of thing, adipose tissue inside your cell. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys, they have it here set up where you can look up things according to what your problem is, if it's a toe fungus or if it's migraines or if it's whatever. But I want to show you guys the section that talks about each specific oil and what it's, how doTERRA chose to formulate it in order to make it do what it's supposed to do, which in this case is it's a metabolic blend. Okay, so I'm having trouble finding it because apparently I can't spell. But here it is. All right, so Slim and Sassy. I'm gonna let you know real quick. They label it here as things good for appetite suppressant, cellulite, obesity, overeating, and weight loss. They say to apply it on the wrists, bottoms of the feet, or on the area of concern. So you can also apply it to your palms, cup your hands over your nose and mouth and breathe and inhale deeply. You can diffuse it. You can also add 8 drops of Slim and Sassy to 2 cups of water and drink throughout the day between meals. So all of that is the professional way of saying you can basically use it all 3 ways, right? Aromatically, topically, and internally. The 2 that people mostly use for Slim and Sassy are the topical and the internal. I would say the majority of people choose internal. So the reason for that is, thankfully, it doesn't taste too bad. So the ingredients are grapefruit, lemon, peppermint, ginger, and cinnamon. There's a whole lot of really, like, I could go into a lot of details about why those specific ones. In general, grapefruit is balancing and uplifting and helps with cellulite and digestion. Grapefruit is also the oil of honoring the body. So on the emotional side of things, this really gives you a kick or a pep in terms of how you view yourself, how you project yourself into the world. And I don't know if you guys have ever looked into some of that kind of info about how, like, you know, walk like a skinny person walks, or eat like a skinny person eats. You know, like there's a different movement, a different feel to how people just move their body, and the same kind of deal using grapefruit as in the oil of honoring the body. If you've had self-shame, or if other people have shamed you and you believe those lies, that you're worth less because you're overweight and things like that. The grapefruit specifically in here, I feel like really kind of helps us shift our view. And remember, it is, you know, like an essential oil applied to the bottoms of your feet takes 20 seconds to enter the bloodstream and 20 minutes to have nourished every cell in your whole body. Very, very bioavailable to your body. It's made for your body, and essential oils are super powerful, and so only a drop or 2 is needed. But looking at how the grapefruit affects things on an emotional side is also interesting. We're not going to go into a lot of that here. I mean, so grapefruit, lemon, which is promoting health, healing, and energy. Peppermint is purifying and stimulating. It also helps some digestive difficulties. Ginger increases physical energy. and also promotes healthy digestion. And then cinnamon enhances the actions of the other oils, and it may improve circulation, digestion, and energy levels. I could get into a whole lot of really, really interesting stuff here. I really did, a little bit extra research, and part of me wants to just like spill off all this in good info for you, but I'm going to stop because I'm going to get too long. Okay, so the basic ways to use this. I love it in my water. So you get your glass or your stainless steel container. Start off with just 1 or 2 drops. Go from there. So when I first started, I started with way too many because they're like, oh, well, this one here says 8 drops Slim and Sassy to 2 cups of water. And so you're thinking, okay, well, it should be fine. If you're used to it, it can be just fine. I know people who do that like on a regular basis, and then they'll end up, drinking that particular cup of water a couple times throughout the day. I prefer to just stick with 1 or 2, or I also like to use veggie caps. I don't think I brought my empty veggie caps in here today, but they're super easy to take apart. doTERRA sells them. You can also find them on Amazon and things like that. You just kind of take apart the little capsule and blink, 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 a couple drops of essential oil in there, put them back together, and there, you're taking it like a vitamin or something like that, so it's still getting into your digestive system. It's still nourishing those cells if you really don't like the flavor. So that's one way to get it. I actually have several different things to show you about that. Secondly, topical use. Because I didn't used to love the flavor. I do really actually like it pretty well now. But when I wasn't liking it and I didn't want to put it in my water, I liked to put it in some coconut oil and turn the, what do you call that? The mixers on, right? And just, get it going. And basically it whips it into shape it up, right? It puts air into it and kind of makes it like fluffy. And when you add some essential oil to that, and then you're smoothing it on your body, oh man, it's so great. And I can tell you, like, the whole bumpy thighs, bumpy backyard, bumpy, all that adipose tissue that is causing some unsightliness really gets calmed down when you're using this, especially on a regular basis. So yeah, highly suggest that one. You can put it on neat, but it's because it's just a straight essential oil, it's going to absorb really quickly into your skin. So if you're going to want to spread it around over an area, you probably want to have it diluted in either a coconut oil or some other thing that you like, put on your body. Quick tip here. Don't use some of the lotions from the store, because all of the parabens and a whole host of other things that are in a lot of the lotions at the store, like the Aveeno and whatever, that it's causing a sealant to go over your skin cells. And so if you're using a high quality essential oil with a typically kind of like industrial produced lotion, you're going to get lesser results, because then your essential oil is now in the barrier, and then it's not absorbing into your skin. Okay, so you definitely need to make sure that whatever lotions you're using or oils that are nourishing your skin are also very close to nature, not things that have been created in the lab and things like that. They become less available to your body. Okay, so internally we talked about, topically in lotion form, or you can just put it on neat. I have found that even just inhaling it, like say for example, if I've already had a healthy lunch and it's like 4:30 and I know I have to cook dinner and I'm going to be snicky snacking on everything and then not actually eat a healthy dinner because I'm, splurged on the chocolates or whatever, I can just put 1 drop in my hand and, aromatically, I don't even have to drink it, but sometimes just breathing it in as it enters into the alveoli of my lungs, and it's still like, going throughout my body. Also, by the way, if you've used a diffuser, yes, it is different than than a humidifier. A lot of people ask me that. It is breaking up the cells, or breaking up the molecules of the essential oil so that it's very easy for our bodies to intake. Kind of liking that right now. Do beware of touching your eyes after you use this particular one, because the peppermint in it is it sometimes can make your eyes water a little bit. And dilute with a fractionated coconut oil if you have any issues with that. This one's my own particular one. doTERRA does sell one as well. Okay, so those are, oh, and one more. Okay, so use it in water. Use it in a veggie cap. doTERRA actually does sell some containers of the gel caps. No, soft gels. They call them Slim and Sassy soft gels. So those are the internal ways. And then when you're looking at the topical ones, we can apply it directly on if you need to. You can just, you know, put it over your stomach area or whatever if you're trying to quiet some hunger signals and you know, get to the next approved time of eating, or when you can have a healthy meal instead of sneaky snacking on some cookies that you have hidden in your desk or something like that. And so, and then of course, aromatically, we just talked about. I wanted to also mention for the topical use, if you guys have ever done any of those wraps, they're really fun. I didn't bring it in here with me, but I did one of my workshops where we talked about Slim and Sassy and had some glass bottles. There is a recipe that, I know this one I did bring in for sure. There's a recipe of what you can put in this before you put it on as a wrap. So you put it in a glass spray bottle with fractionated coconut oil, spray your body, then wrap yourself, and you have to measure before and after because it's really crazy, really crazy. Sometimes anywhere between like a 1/2 inch and 6 inches, you know, like arms, thighs, you know, like you're losing inches just because you're keeping this on for like, you know, 2 hours, 2 to 8 hours. Really awesome. So if you guys want info on that, I do have, you know, the sheets from the workshop that we did for people who were making the spray bottles, which is in a different room. Anyhow, so those are the ways we actually use the Slim and Sassy, and that's why when we get it in the just, you know, pure essential oil form, so it's pre-blended, it already has the grapefruit, the lemon, the peppermint, the ginger, the cinnamon in there, but it's the pure oil. There is no carrier oil at all in this, and so you get to have control about how you want to use it. Do you want to put it in a diffuser? Do you want to put it in your water? Do you want to put it in some coconut oil and smear it on? Do you want to do it in a wrap form? All those are fantastic ways. Surrounding that, let me also go back to sharing my screen here. Yeah, so here's a picture of the Metabolic blend soft gels. There's 90 in that particular bottle, so those are great. And I do love me some of the Slim and Sassy gums, which they have right here. I actually like this one as I find when I'm driving, I really like it. Maybe it's because like the ginger and peppermint and stuff like that calms a little bit of you know, any upset that you get if you're riding in the cars. I also find this makes me peppy. This, like the sassy portion of it is amazing. I find it's like a little energy boost. You know, they have done studies talking about how people who have consumed peppermint, like, and it's like 20 guys at a gym did like a test for how high they jump or how fast they could sprint. And like those were the two parameters, and then they gave the guys a break, and half of them they just let drink regular water. The other half they gave stuff with doTERRA peppermint essential oil in that they were drinking. And the next round that they had is doing the exact same test. The guys with just plain water jumped roughly about the same. On average, it was like the same, but the guys who had the peppermint actually increased by 10 to 15%. They increased how high they jumped by 10 to 15%, and how fast they were able to sprint whatever distance it was, again by 10 to 15%. So there is a reason to believe that this is going to be very supportive. You know, the peppermint in it, and many of the other ones are similar to that as well. So I find with the gum specifically, it gives me a boost. Part of it is like, maybe it's psychosomatic, I don't know, all the whole metaphysical stuff, but I like to have this on hand. All right, Terrazyme, huge fan. I could go on and on and on. Like, this is one of the products that I feel like we really, man, I would like for the whole world to kind of experience. I just can't say enough about this one. The whole idea behind being able to break down what we're eating a little bit more efficiently. So many of us, you know, if you compared to the 1950s, the foods that we have today are about 1/5 of the amount of enzymes. So even if you're eating a lot of raw foods, you know, like on a regular basis, like a lot of the raw foodists and things like that still have the issue. You're not getting a lot of the enzymes that are breaking down. It's slightly different from probiotics, but both are super important and super important for digestion specifically. So Terrazyme, being able to break down, like this is one of the ones that if I open up one of the capsules, and I have done this before, you know, showing people, you know, you crack open one of the capsules. Am I thinking here? Okay, so you crack open one of the capsules. I actually give this to my kids sometimes in honey to help them digest heavy foods that don't agree with their system normally, especially if they end up with a stomach ache. I love digestin, but I like this one too. And so, or just, you know, take a couple, you know, before you have a heavy meal that normally wouldn't agree with you. But if you open it up into some old, say, oatmeal or something like that, you can watch the oatmeal start to kind of liquefy. Very effective. And so we want things like that in our system to be breaking down the food more efficiently, especially if you're going to pay for organic. Like, you want the very best assimilation of those nutrients. So get you guys some enzymes. The PB Assist, I do have to go ahead and kick in here with my fantastic probiotic. I love this one. I'm going to stop my screen share for just a second to make sure you get the full effect. If you're watching on a phone, you won't be able to tell otherwise. So this here is a capsule. As you see, it's double encapsulated. There's a little jelly part on this side, the little white stuff. That is a prebiotic. And the capsule inside that's green, it's made of chlorella. The prebiotic goes into your system and opens up and kind of makes a favorable environment. And then later the good guys break out of the chlorella capsule, and they get to start populating because they're super strong, because they're getting up the chlorella and they're in this nice environment. So much more effective delivery system than what you would typically find in, say, like one of the refrigerated you know, whatever things that you get from one of the food stores, health stores. Anyhow, yeah, so probiotic, love those. And especially if you're talking about the Terrazyme and probiotic together, huge. The GX Assist is one of the ones that is clearing out a lot of liver, kidneys, you know, those kinds of organ things. So that's something that you only do about 10 days in a row, because you're trying to like clear some junk out, versus this is not something to take like on a regular basis. It's really more for when you're specifically doing a cleanse. And I have to mention this Lifelong Vitality Pack, super basic, but in such an above par kind of basic way. Like I'm saying basic as in you can't slide by and go without this. I've actually, for a while, I started doing the E-omegas and the Mycoplex VMZ, the VMZ Think of Vitamins. So like when you're looking at just those two, I was you know, squeaking along, but adding in the Alpha CRS, which is for cellular vitality, makes a huge difference. So if you're someone who has tried vitamins and not really seen much results from it, the Lifelong Vitality Pack, I have to put my plug in here because they really do honor the 30-day, just kidding, the full money-back guarantee. So if you buy it and you're following the directions and taking the correct amount for that 30 days that the supply is for, they happily send you back $80 if you're not fully satisfied. And I've heard people send back their empty bottles and they still, return their $80 to them. So yes, definitely get on the list for that one. I pop in just a couple ideas here for some of the things that I think are important in terms of getting moving. Sometimes we think we have to do like a whole bunch of stuff. It doesn't have to be a lot. Even just starting with stretching on a daily basis is going to be a huge, huge deal. I have to also make a little bit of a plug for natural energy. Why? Because as a mother of 5, I need it. So I love the Mito2 Max. They call it the Energy and Stamina Complex. The reason for that is because mitochondria are the energy centers of our body, and when we are nourishing those and giving them what we need, they will operate much better for you. The Mito2 Max has no caffeine. It is not a stimulant. There's nothing that's going to like raise your adrenaline or anything like that. It works on a totally different basis, and much more like a toning kind of effect. So they have the circulation support in there, and also a lot of the adaptogenics like the ashwagandha and ginseng and things like that. But the coenzyme Q10 and L-carnitine and things like that for the mitochondria are huge, huge, huge. And I find adding a little bit of extra this on a day that I'm already taking Slim and Sassy and already doing my lifelong vitality supplements is such a boost. Like, I am amazed how much I can accomplish with the Mito2 Max, adding in there as far as energy level, mental energy, as well as the physical. So peppermint and wild orange are like the super common pick-me-up. I say common like it's, like it's not really special. It is really special. Sorry if I come out saying like that, but a drop of peppermint, a drop of wild orange in your hand, just like I had showed you guys before when we were doing the Slim and Sassy. You just plop it in your hand and put it up to your face and do the whole, like, I call it cup and huff. Really great. So what about after your energy time is done? How do you rest? How do you relax? How do you renew? What do you do for managing stress? I have to tell you, there are so many things that I have an opinion about. Reading, like a book that has actual pages in it as opposed to something, technological. I feel like that's important. I really do think too, when we're looking at, resting and managing your sleep cycle and things like that, there's a lot that we can do support when we're looking at some of the things we could be diffusing or applying on our feet before we go to bed to help get a more solid sleep. Or in my case, apply to your kids so that you can get a more solid sleep, because we all know how that goes if you guys are parents. All right, so who here is ready to lose weight naturally? Because this is some really awesome stuff. All right, so the whole idea of you deserve to be healthy. I'm going to stop my share here for a second and pop in. So we had looked at the triangle before. The same idea is, okay, wait, all right, so this one here. This is the doTERRA lifestyle: nutrition, exercise, resting, managing stress, reducing toxic load, and informed self-care. We kind of graded ourselves on that. So doTERRA does have what I would call solutions that support each individual thing. So say, for example, you marked yourself pretty low on the exercise scale. Well, what are some things that could help with that? So the stuff that's in this row is going to be key for supporting that. I'm looking at some of the Deep Blue Rub. Need some of that, especially if you're exercising harder, training for the 5K like I did. Like I made a decision to do it only about a month before the 5K was to actually happen, and I was not sure that I was going to be able to do that. Especially came was it January 12th? I think it was. I think it was the 12th. Anyway, so whatever day it was, 12th. But part of the whole deal, what for me was that I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be so sore, it's gonna be awful. But I really did, I brought the peppermint with me, so that that was like the one thing besides my phone that I carried. because I wanted to be able to open up my passageways, and just like that study had said, I'm going to need something to have in my, to be able to like run a little bit farther or jump a little bit higher. The Breathe has been really good for me too. If I ever come down with something, Aroma Touch for massaging my achy legs. Later, past tense for headaches. I actually did give myself a headache running one day, trying to push myself. So like whatever thing that you are, feeling like you need some focus on, there is a solution with doTERRA. And I feel like it's really valuable to take a look at supporting the whole lifestyle. It's a really big deal, especially if you kind of like look into what doTERRA is in terms of, like the integrity of the company, the fact that they're debt free. But here, a couple things you'll need to know. So opening up an account with doTERRA just goes like this. It's a $35 membership fee. And then you can purchase whatever you would like to get for like a 1-year basis at a 25% discount. Most people don't do that though. I have to tell you. Most people do the smart thing, and they'll go ahead and open up with a kit. And the kit waives the $35 membership fee. You don't even have to pay that one at all. But you still get the 25% discount for the whole year. And but some of the kits, depending on what size you go for, are going to be additional savings. What I typically point out to people is the one that's called the Natural Solutions Kit. Part of the reason why I'm bringing this one particularly up is not only because you save $228 and also get 100 product credits put into your cart. Hey, look, it just focused. Isn't that fun? All right, so this is a really good one because it does include a lot of things about if you scored low on toxic chemicals and wanted to get some of those out of your life and some more natural things in, and you need some lotions and you need some soaps and you need some things like that that are not going to cover yourself with parabens and that are going to absorb your Slim and Sassy really easily, the Natural Solutions Kit is the way to go. It also includes all the things that we are looking at in this particular triangle and trying to support a really super ideal healthy lifestyle. So looking at the 550, which is really more like 450 because you get 100 points put into your cart to use for other stuff later. And considering the fact that you're saving $228 just because you're getting it in a preformed kit. That is wonderful news. Plus saving the $35 for the membership fee. And then, this particular month here in January, if this is something that you want to go forward with right now, doTERRA is also doing an additional special for a free red mandarin if you're enrolling with something that's over 100, or also if it's over 200, which the Natural Solution Kit would be something like that, then you're also getting a free Serenity. Lovely, supportive for resting and managing sleep issues and things like that. So all those combined are like really darn fabulous. If it's not in your budget, there's something for everyone. I mean, you can enroll with doTERRA and get some really fantastic stuff, even for just like $55. You may not get some of the extra perks, like the red mandarin or things like that, but you can get started today if you know that you need that. Just get just get a couple things like I suggest the Lifelong Vitality Pack plus the Slim and Sassy, maybe some of the gum. It's a super easy, like basic kind of thing, but very, very worthwhile. All right, I need to sign off here. If you have been watching this and I am the person that you have known and want to continue working with doTERRA, there are several ways you can get a hold of me. It's enamoredwithnature@gmail.com is my email address, and that will connect with me and I can help you walk through figuring out in terms of a wellness consult what you specifically need. So maybe Slim and Sassy isn't your thing, and maybe you have more like you need some support for hormones that are kind of going awry, or maybe you need some support for some digestive issues, or for some, strange, whatever, digestive problem, or your hair's falling out, or whatever, like we can talk through what specifically you need, what your family needs, people who are close to you that you're going to be helping, and figure out something that works within each person's budget. And it's individual. And so I like working with people specifically. I'm a fantastic developer. If you tell me where you're starting from and where you want to be, I can clearly see the steps to be able to get you there in a smooth fashion. So I would love to work with you specifically on your needs. So hit me up with enamoredwithnature@gmail.com. You can also find me on the Facebook group called Enamored with Nature Oil Education. And you can look up the Stop and Rest initiative. You can there's a couple different ways to reach me, but starting on the Facebook side and things like that, you're going to be great. Enamored with Nature is what you're going to be looking for. All right, loves, oil up and win. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I really do honestly want to help you. Oh, by the way, if you already have your own account with doTERRA, do take a look at getting some of the Slim and Sassy this particular month. There's a metabolic health focus group that's going on here. I guess this is for people who are just starting with a new enrollment as well. But if you already have your account, go ahead and start taking a look at some of the things on that Facebook page, because you're going to want to get some of this. And when people are starting like some motivational competitions and posting and live in the group and things like that, you're going to want to get notified, and you're going to want to start using this along with everybody else. It's going to be fantastic. Okay. My heart goes to you. I hope I will see you again soon.